Hello folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. So, hope everyone's doing well. So this afternoon I saw Don Charles, the trainer of Daniel Dubois, being interviewed by Umar from Box Nation. I realized it was Umar who had interviewed Andy Lee the other day, and I made a video about that. And what struck me was how relaxed and laid back Andy Lee was. He almost had to be, provoked by Umar into answering questions. And that's when he said that, he had his doubts about Daniel Dubois' illness. He thought it was coincidental that Daniel Dubois pulled out of the fight with Joseph Parker. They had the talk of the fight with Usyk in the background, and Andy Lee was, well, I'm sure you can go and watch it yourself. I mean, many of you have seen my synopsis of that interview. But Andy Lee was pretty laid back. He wasn't aggressive, and he said, it is what it is, like he was he made his point that he thought it was suspicious, that he was dubious, if you like, about Dubois pulling out. And yet, when I watched the Don Charles interview, I was struck by the difference in personality. Don Charles was arrogant and aggressive and called Andy Lee simple-minded. He said that the doctors had recommended that Dubois not fight. And when he was asked, well, would you be able to make the papers, doctor's notes, available to Andy Lee and his team? At first he said yes, and then he was like, oh, well, they can, I'm not the board, you can contact the board or Frank Warren and all this sort of stuff. Umar, by the way, I'm sure a very successful media fellow, of course, Box Nation, very big and successful channel. But my goodness, what a softball questioner. Oh. It was interesting that he was actually far more, I won't say aggressive because that would overstate it. He was more incisive when he was asking Andy Lee anything. He seemed very timorous in the extreme when he was asking Don Charles questions, almost like he was fearful of Don Charles. But anyways, Don Charles was asked about, did you think that you were overlooking Joe Parker at all? Because, of course, we know that Dubois had gotten into the ring very rudely and got in Usyk's face when Usyk was barely started his interview. I think he was talking about his children. And there was Dubois in his face, luckily not to get punched in the nose, to be perfectly honest. Imagine if that had been Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson or somebody being questioned like that. Terrible. Anyhow, Don Charles did allow that possibly the timing of that could have been better, could have maybe let Usyk finish his interview. You think? Yeah. But anyways, when he was saying, when he was asked about, do you think that was possible that you might have been overlooking Joe Parker? He was, again, very belligerent. He said, no, we're looking through you. Well, it's like, whoa. I mean, talking about Joe Parker as though Joe Parker was, some sort of below average journeyman who they would have walked through. And he said that he was aware of Andy Lee's training and Andy Lee's strategy and Andy Lee's defense. And he said Dubois would have penetrated Parker and knocked your arse out. Be quiet. Which again, since Dubois didn't fight Parker, we don't know. And if Dubois is so keen to fight Parker and so confident that he will knock your arse out, well, why don't you fight him then? Inquiring minds would like to know. He said that, get it out of your simple mind that we ducked you. Be quiet. Stop all your nonsense. And this is to Andy Lee, who, again, I juxtapose the two interviews. Andy Lee was was laid back, and the interviewer had to tease it out of Andy Lee. And there's Don Charles being very arrogant, sort of, sitting there like, very, very powerful, very, well, I'll leave it at arrogance. I don't want to be accused of being, making personal attacks on the man. But the body language, and the demeanor, and the words used were not professional in my view. He did say that he thought that his fighter, Dubois, would have been fine for 3 or 4 rounds, and if Parker had still been around and the illness had kicked in, then people would be, and then afterwards maybe he'd lost against Parker. People would say, well, you're making an excuse if you raise the issue of illness. And he went after Andy Lee by saying, I protect my fighter, live to fight another day, and all that. He's very self-righteous, I find. And he was saying that Andy Lee had put his fighter in with Joe Joyce when Joe Joyce was sick, and sort of, poo-pooing that, a better man like me. Very, very full of himself. I used to like Don Charles, but since Dubois has won the WBF, well, I suppose he won it. Well, he gifted it and then defended it. Don Charles has been ever so arrogant, really unbecoming of him. He said a fully fit Daniel Dubois would have got him out, Parker that is, with the missile of a jab. He would have been stopped. Absolutely would have destroyed Joseph Parker. Again, Mr. Charles, if you're so confident that you will destroy Joseph Parker, well, as fans, we'd like to see that happen. And, frankly, you might be right. But put your man up. You can't go running around saying how your fighter would destroy another fighter when, quite frankly, most of the fans out there think you've ducked him. Anyhow, that's my take on it. So anyways, Box Nation is the channel that Don Charles is being interviewed on. Let me know what you think. I really found him to be quite distasteful. If you like this video, please like, please share, please subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I will see you on the next video. Thank you. Cheers.